All right, so exciting news. We have some new polls that just come out of Nevada and Texas, and both of them show Bernie Sanders in first place. He's leading the pack, and by a good margin in both. So I want to show you the poll from Nevada first. This came out yesterday on Friday, and this is just a week before the caucus, right? So Bernie Sanders, he's in first place at 25%, followed by Joe Biden at 18%. And then you have Warren at 13%, Tom Steyer at 11%, Klobuchar and Buttigieg both tied at 10% each. So essentially, Pete Buttigieg is last. Actually, it's quite surprising that he even has 10% support in a mixed state like Nevada. But okay, what's also surprising is Joe Biden is in second place after he got punched in the gut, as he likes to put it, in Iowa and New Hampshire. That's an understatement. Punched in the gut. I mean, coming in fifth place is a sign that you should probably quit the race now, while you still have, like a shred of grace left, not keep going. Because personally, I think even if Joe Biden does well in Nevada and in South Carolina, he's going to get wiped out on Super Tuesday, and he's not getting this nomination. I mean, I think that's pretty clear. It's just not happening. So I hope I'm not wrong. Of course, the big news here is that Bernie Sanders is in first place, even though MSNBC would like to tell you otherwise. Going into Nevada, this is another caucus state, just like Iowa, and you once again have this viability threshold where to gain any delegates or to make it past the first round, you have to have a minimum of 15% of the votes in any given precinct. So when it comes to candidates like Pete and Klobuchar, I think for the majority of the precincts, they're not going to emerge from the first round. And most likely their supporters are going to have to make up their minds where they're going next as they see that Buttigieg or Klobuchar are eliminated. And I don't think that they're going to emerge with so many delegates, because this whole system is weird, right? I mean, right now, as it stands, even though Bernie Sanders got the popular vote in New Hampshire and Iowa, they still allocated more delegates to Pete Buttigieg. Democracy at work. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's just a messed up system. So just to put this into perspective, this poll that's coming out of Nevada, they called about 413 likely caucus goers. The margin of error is 4.8%. Now, moving on to the next poll, this one is coming out of Texas. Yeehaw. And we got a bit more data here. We got a head-to-head matchup with Trump, which I'm going to get to in a second. But yes, once again, Bernie Sanders is first among Democrats. So this poll is from the University of Texas and the Texas Tribune. Bernie Sanders is at 24%. And what's remarkable here, he used to be in third place back in October with half of that. He only had 12% the last time they did this poll. 4 months later, he's surpassed Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren. And now he's in first place with 24%. That's remarkable. That's really something. And so now you have Joe Biden in second place at 22% and Elizabeth Warren at 15%. Now, for the sake of transparency, the margin of error is 4 points here, 4 percentage points. So honestly, between Biden and Bernie Sanders, it could go either way here. But again, the highlight here is that Bernie Sanders is in first place and that he's doubled his support among Democrats in Texas. I mean, that's amazing. Now, again, to put this into context, Texas is a Super Tuesday state. So this is one of the many states that have their primary on March 3rd. Man, honestly, like, if Bernie Sanders keeps this up everywhere, man, this primary could be over a lot sooner. Let's try to hope for 1 second that he goes and wins really big on Super Tuesday. Man, he's going to sweep up enough delegates and the primary's done in like 2.5 weeks. I mean, that would be a dream. Okay, and then you already know who's going to win the general after that. That would be really something. And Nate Silver, who is no friend of Bernie Sanders, he even projected that Bernie Sanders would win 48 out of 50 states. That tells you a lot, man. And here, they actually did head-to-head matchups with Donald Trump. Bernie Sanders loses to Trump, but it's within the margin of error. Okay, so he loses 47 to 45%, but as it says, that's just 2 percentage points, and that is within the poll's margin of error. Now, when you look at Biden, Warren, Bloomberg, Buttigieg, and Klobuchar, Trump beats all of them by bigger margins, okay? So double that. You have 4 percentage points with Biden. He beats him 47 to 43. And then the worst ones are Buttigieg and Klobuchar. I mean, 47 to 42, 46 to 41. This is consistent with what we've seen generally, not just in Texas, but nationally, you know, that Bernie Sanders has, I mean, nationally, Bernie Sanders beats Trump, first of all, right? But he also does it by the widest margin. Pete Buttigieg, he's always like last place. So I don't know how they're calling that guy the front runner and the most electable, and that you need to run a moderate. Why is the moderate beating Trump in matchup polls by the smallest margin then, if running a moderate is so popular? So just within Texas right here, this is further proof of that, you know, that Bernie Sanders has the best chance against Trump, even though it shows him as losing here. But again, it's a toss-up, okay? It's 2 percentage points within the margin of error for the poll. So it's a toss-up right there. If you look at the national polls and the head-to-head matchups nationally, Bernie Sanders does beat Trump, and he does it by the widest margin, something like 7 percentage points. You know, it's not a landslide just yet, but it's a comfortable thing, especially when you don't even have the nomination yet. And also when it comes to favorability, Bernie Sanders ranks highest with Elizabeth Warren. So they both have a 69% favorable rating here among these Democratic voters who were polled. This was a survey of 1,200 registered voters done from January 31st to February 9th. Okay, so this is a much larger sample size than the poll from Nevada, about 3 times larger. And they did this going right up to the lead up of the primary. So they stopped us doing this poll on February 3rd, which is when we had Iowa, right? So this is not considering all the momentum that respective candidates have gained, you know, whether it's Sanders or Buttigieg. So it's very interesting. And once again, what I would consider the most important takeaway from here is that you can see a consistent pattern of growth where Bernie Sanders is not just leading nationally and the front runner nationally, but also in individual states. Wherever you look, he is now in first place, and he has doubled or overtaken all the other candidates going back from the summer and the fall until now. Surging everywhere, gaining popularity everywhere. And as the field thins, I think it's going to go up even more. You know, the only person who's like staying exactly where he is Joe Biden, you know, and other candidates, they keep falling down, like Elizabeth Warren. She's done, man. Bernie Sanders, he's growing, he's surging. That's good. Now, again, don't count your chickens before they've hatched, but if things stay the way they are, he's getting this nomination, you know? I think so, because wherever you look right now, and right now matters the most, we are already in the primary. When you look at the polls, when you look at the results of the primaries in New Hampshire and Iowa, he's first. So I don't know what's going to happen in Nevada. I know Bernie Sanders has a lot of support there. If you guys remember, he also has the biggest amount of support among Latinos and non-white voters. And since you do have a lot of Latinos and non-white voters in Nevada, that's going to help him. And that's going to work against people like Pete Buttigieg, who have none. So that's going to boost Sanders. And I don't know if he's going to win, though. Like, I don't want to call it, but I would definitely say he has a better chance in Nevada than South Carolina. You know, if we're talking early primary states. Yeah. Just because of the fact that Joe Biden already has such cemented base of support in South Carolina and Bernie Sanders doesn't, even though the gap is closed a bit, but still. I think he might win Nevada. I think Bernie Sanders is going to win Nevada. I'm not going to get too excited yet. I think he's going to do it, though. And on Super Tuesday, I really hope we're going to see him sweep up a ton of states. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, man. Because that could very well be the case. Okay, he's in the best position that you could ask for right now. So anyway, just 2 really interesting polls that I quickly wanted to update you guys on. These came out yesterday and today. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled and make sure you're registered to vote.